Okay.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Salman, Laura, sorry, just because I don't want to take too much time, so the introductory part would be in Persian, and I'm just going to introduce you and myself and all the things that you already know. Okay?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So, خب سلام به همگی. من خیلی 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 خوشحالم که در خدمتتون هستم. ببخشید بابت این بک‌گراند خیلی دلانگیز. من عادت ندارم اصلا اینجا هم صحبت بکنم توی آشپزخونه، منتها یه سری داشتن ساخت ساز انجام میدادن. امروز که ناچار شدم به اینجا نقل مکان بکنم برای اینکه صدا رو شما بهتر داشته باشین. بعد اینکه خیلی خوشحال هستیم که در خدمت لورا مارکس هستیم و من خیلی خوشحالم که یه جورایی واسطه شدم هستم بین ایشون که یکی از خفن‌ترین شخصیت‌هایی هستن که من توی زندگیم باهاش آشنا شدم و با شما دوستان عزیزم توی ایران که اسمای آشنا هم زیاد میبینم و سعی میکنم که امروز یه مقداری هم الان پرش فکر دارم، عذرخواهی میکنم. منتها سعی میکنم که زیاد سر ترجمه وقت نگیرم و مثلا تا جایی که میتونم خلاصه مطالب رو خدمتتون بگم. ما اسلایدر رو ترجمه کردیم، بنابراین من بناست که بعد از هر اسلایدم یه کوچولو توضیح بدم. منتها اسلایدر ترجمه شده، بنابراین من نقش چندان زیادی نخواهم داشت ایشالله. و بعد اینکه من فراموش کردم خودم معرفی بکنم، اسمم سمیه خاکشور هست و از ونکوور با شما صحبت میکنم و همین و از کالکتیو انیمیشن تجربه هم که هستیم طبعا. یه کوچولوی فقط من این معرفی رو که از لورا مارکس توی دوستان زحمت کشیدن عناوین کتابا رو ترجمه کردن. عناوین میتونن دقیق تر از این هم باشن، منتها من همین ترجمه‌ای که شده رو از روش میخونم فقط به جهت اینکه یک ورودی داشته باشیم به جریان. لورا مارکس فیلسوف و پژوهشگر هنرهای رسانه‌ای است. تحقیقات او شامل طیف گسترده‌ای از مضامین، از حس لامسه دیداری تا تحلیل سینمای تجربی جهان عرب و تاثیرات کربن که گفتیم تاثیرات کربن مرتبط هستش با میزان انتشار گازهای گلخانه‌ای، حاصل از رسانه‌های استریمینگ. حالا که به خانم شکیب پیشنهاد کردن به نشر آنی می شود. دکتر لورا مارکس با انتشار کتاب پوست و فیلم، سینمای بین‌الفرهنگی، تجسم و حواس به نامی شناخته شده تبدیل شد. این کتابشون خیلی معروف هستش الان، یعنی منظورم از معروف این هست که توی فضای آکادمیک شناخته شده هستش. و پس از اون 3 کتاب دیگه با عناوین لامسه، نظریه محسوسات، رسانه‌های چند حسی، در لفاف پوشاندن، از اینفولدمنت و اینفینیتی، در لفاف پوشاندن و ابدیت، تبارشناسی اسلامی، هنر نیومدیا و حنان سینما نوشت و در حال حاضر مشغول انجام مراحل پایانی و ویرایش کتاب آخر خود است. او متأثر از نظریه پردازانی همچون دلوز، گواتری، مالوپونتی، الکندی، مولا صدرا و غیره است. علاوه بر نوشتن آثار مکتوب مهم و تاثیرگذار، لورا مارکس به فعالیت‌های دیگه‌ای خیلی فعال هستنشون مثل پخش آثار تجربی در نقاط جهان، مدیریت شبکه تحقیقاتی بین‌المللی به نام حرکت جوهری یا Substantial Motion Research Network، تدریس در دانشگاه سایمون فریزر، ساخت فیلم، پروژه‌های شخصی و پروژه‌های تجربی و همینطور کلابوریشن با آرتیست‌های مختلف و همینطور برگزاری جشنواره‌های کار دیگه از جمله کار جانبی از جمله برگزاری جشنواره فیلم‌های کم حجم یا همین اسمال فایل میدیا فستیوال مشغول هستم. من دیگه سعی می‌کنم بیشتر از این چیز نکنم، صحبت نکنم. بذاریم شروع بکنیم با خود خانم مارکس. Laura, please.
Thank you, Samaya. It's really a delight to be here with you. It's a precious opportunity to meet experimental filmmaker friends in Iran, and I'm so grateful to Samaya for arranging this get-together.
Thank you. ایشون گفتن که الان نمیدونم حال همه چی تو باید ترجمه کنم اینا، ولی این به خاطر اینکه خب خیلی محبتی که هم میگن که من خیلی خوشحالم از اینکه با شما هستم و با فیلمسازای تجربی ایرانی آشنا میشم و تشکر میکنم بابت این جریان.
And I'm happy to see that another friend is here with us, Hamid Reza Jadid. Hi, Hamid Reza.
Hi, Laura. It's a great pleasure to see you again. It's been a while.
And we're also joined by one of the filmmakers whose work you're going to be seeing, Gabriela De Seta. And later we'll be joined by another of the filmmakers, Azadeh Imadi. So that will be great.
That's great, yeah. میگن که دو تا از فیلمسازایی که امروز فیلماشون رو قرار ببینیم بهمون قراره که ملحق باشن. یکی آزاده امادی هستش که از و دیگری هم گابریلا
De Seta.
De Seta, yeah.
And I'm so grateful to Samaya for translating for us today. And translating my slides into Farsi. And I thank you all for listening to me in English, because the only thing I know how to say in Farsi is Khaste naboshi.
That's a very important word, actually, expression. میگن که ممنون از اینکه به زبان انگلیسی دارید گوش میکنید و من تنها چیزی که بلدم توی فارسی هم خسته نباشید و تشکر میکنم بابت ترجمه و این مسائل.
Okay, so let me begin. Azadeh and I'm sorry, Samaya and Hamid Reza and I are all greeting you from the unceded traditional ancestral territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. And as part of this acknowledgement, I also acknowledge that because we're meeting by video conference, we are meeting thanks to data centers and networks that are crossing the globe, consuming electricity, creating greenhouse gas emissions, and in some cases also crossing traditional Aboriginal lands. So I think I can just go on because that's translated, right?
Yes, please.
Yeah, okay. So Samaya asked me to talk to you about the Small File Media Festival. And organizing this festival sprang, no, I gotta make this smaller. It sprang normally out of my what has interested me for a long time, ever since the 1990s, when digital technologies became common. There was always a futuristic discourse about digital media and the idea that they would be better and newer than existing media. And I've always resisted this futuristic discourse about digital media. And instead, I've been interested in the qualities of older media. And now that digital media are 30 years old, this includes older digital media. Do you want to translate that, Samaya?
Okay, very fast. دارن میگن که من همیشه برام زمانی که هنوز دیجیتال میدیا یک رسانه‌های دیجیتال هوا یه چیز فیوچریستیک محسوب شدن و رو به و خیلی جذاب بودن و رو به جلو در واقع داشتن همه نسبت به این جریان و این جذابیت وجود داشت. عذرخواهی میکنم بابت این لایک. من همون موقع علاقه‌مند بودم به رسانه‌های قدیمی و به مدیوم‌های قدیم و در حال حاضر هم به مدیوم‌های قدیم با توجه به که 30 سال از عمر رسانه‌های دیجیتال میگذره به مدل‌های قدیمی و مدیوم‌های قدیم دیجیتال علاقه‌مند هستم. سعی می‌کنم بعدی سریع‌تر بشه.
Yes. And I find that when you are looking at lower resolution media, you tend to lean forward and look and listen more closely. And in that way, your body kind of joins with the body of the medium that you're looking at. And in that way, you're leaning forward to these movies because they don't tell you everything. They stimulate your imagination and they also activate your senses.
Hello?
I have a bad network connection.
Okay, thanks.
So, I'm going to minimize. Yes, so thinking about these kinds of low resolution media, 25 years ago, I developed a theory of haptic visuality, which is a vision that is like touching, where the viewer is leaning forward and engaging with the thing viewed, really engaging with the body of the medium.
میگن که در واقع sorry, I just forgot what I translated and what I didn't. So after from now on, I will just translate after each of your slides so that I know that I didn't translate this or that. Okay. میگن که من بابت یکی از جذابیت‌های این مدیوم‌های با کیفیت پایین و این حرفا این هستش که بیننده خیلی به خاطر اینکه یک سری داده ها بهش یک سری اطلاعات بهش داده نمیشه، در واقع باید ممزوج بشه با مدیوم و یه سری چیزا رو حدس بزنه، یه سری چیزا خیالش فعال بشه و همه اینها با این انگیجمنت بیشتر این در واقع این تداخل بیشتری که داره بیننده با اثر اون براشون و با مدیوم این براشون جذاب بوده و این منجر شده به نظریه هپتیک ویژوالیتی یا همون دیدمان لمسی که توش در واقع بله که توش تمام حواس درگیر میشن و دیدار تبدیل میشه در واقع به لمس و همه حواس با هم دیگه ممزوج میشن.
Thank you. And by the way, I just put into the chat the link to the program you're going to see that Samaya made, and it's probably about 30 megabytes. So you might want to download it now. Okay.
لینک برنامه رو فرستادن براتون که اگه لطف بکنید دانلود بکنید، بخاطر که هر زمان که گفتن میریم خودمون به خاطر اینکه کیفیت فیلم مهم بوده برای همین گذاشتیم که قابل دانلود باشه و خودتون هر کسی جدا بره ببینه و بعد برگرده.
Okay, so on to the topic that I'm going to be talking with you about today. I founded the Small File Media Festival because I was concerned to learn that streaming video consumes a great deal of electricity. And by one calculation, that electricity consumption is responsible for 1% of global greenhouse gas emissions, which is huge. And that amount has been rising as more and more people during the pandemic have been stuck at home streaming videos, using social media, gaming online. So this is a real concern. And a year ago, I formed a research group of 2 media scholars and 2 engineers to work on this issue.
خب قبلش مقدمه رو گفتن برای اینکه در واقع علاقه شخصیشون و سلیقه شخصیشون به سمت این مدیوم های با کیفیت پایین هستش. منتها بعدش گفتن دارن میگن که اینها باعث شد که به هر حال به این موضوع تحقیق علاقه‌مند بشن و در حال حاضر دغدغه اصلیشون از جهت دغدغه محیط زیستی هستش و اونچه که اینجا حالا زیرنویس شده ترجمه شده رو هم می‌بینید. به جهت محیط زیستی در واقع این کارو دارن در حال حاضر بیشتر انجام میدن و تحقیقشون پیش میبرن.
Yeah, thank you, Samaya. So, briefly giving you some information about all this. And Samaya, maybe you don't need to translate the next couple of slides because I'll just translate what's on the slide. So this carbon footprint is the result of data centers, the networks that connect data centers, and the devices that we use, computers, phones, connected TVs, and they are using a larger proportion of total global electricity. And because about 80% of the world's electricity comes from fossil fuels, this means that the resulting greenhouse gas emissions are very high, estimated to be about 3% of the global total greenhouse gas emissions. And there's huge disagreement among engineers about how high these figures are, but one of the more worried engineers, Belhir and Ameligli, are saying that in 2030, information and communication technology could be responsible for 7% of global greenhouse gas emissions, which is huge, and 15% in 2040. Now, nobody tends to think that streaming media have this kind of material effect because we've been encouraged to believe that streaming media are virtual. So you see in my diagram here, here's the movie that we're watching. I know you couldn't see a movie like this in public in Iran. This movie seems to appear to us by magic to the audience, either watching a screen or watching on their devices. But in fact, the infrastructure that supports that movie consists of underground cables, underwater cables, satellite signals coming from data centers. And in turn, our devices are being produced in another country, usually China, and they're made of rare metals mined in many cases in Africa. So all of these things are the infrastructure that is supporting our seemingly virtual viewing experience. Also important to know is that even though mobile phones don't consume a lot of electricity, their production actually accounts for 90% of their carbon footprint. So maybe you want to translate a bit of that, Samaya?
اوکی. دارن در مورد زیرساخت‌های در مورد این جریان میگن که به نظر ما میاد وقتی فیلم این نقاشی خودشون هستش و میگن که نقاشی و میگن که وقتی که به ما یه فیلمی رو میبینیم در نظر نمیگیریم که فکر میکنیم که انگار یه چیز جادوییه و برای ما کاملا چیز غیر مادیه و مجازیه، به خاطر اینکه زیرساخت‌ها پنهان هستن و دارن توضیح میدن که زیرساخت‌ها کجا هستن، مثلا معادنی که ازش مسائل مورد نیاز مثلا ساختن ابزارهای ما استخراج میشه، یا مثلا فرض کنید کابل‌ها، مراکز داده ها، همه اون زیرساخت‌ها که اون پشت ماجرا قرار دارن و ما ازشون بیخبر هستیم، فقط محصول نهایی رو می‌بینیم. در مورد این داشتن توضیح دادن و دارن ما رو در واقع متقاعد میکنن که این ماجرا کاملا یه چیز مادیه و یعنی فیزیکی و کلی و اصلا این تصور این که دیجیتالی یه چیز غیر مادی هستش این غلطه. فکر میکنم همین بود دیگه، فراموش کردم. Okay, go on. Please.
Yeah, and streaming media, as well as gaming and emerging technologies like blockchain, are the largest demand on information and communication technology. And the most important cause of this rise is the use of high resolution. The more, as the network company Cisco says, the more broadband improves, the more people use high bandwidth content. So there's a kind of vicious circle. And this is the term for this that you might have heard is the Jevons paradox, where when technologies become more efficient, people use the resource more. And that's what's happening with streaming video. And this is a crazy diagram from Cisco, imagining that in the future, people are going to need ultra high definition streaming, virtual reality streaming, self-driving vehicles, ultra high definition virtual reality, and other crazy things that are going to actually set the planet on fire with the amount of electricity they consume. Do you want to
Thank you.
this part?
میگن که یه مسئله که وجود داره اینه که پیشرفت تکنولوژی باعث میشه که بازدهی بیشتر بشه، باعث میشه که مثلا این کارهایی بکنن که این انتشار گازهای گلخانه‌ای کمتر بشه. منتها مسئله اینه که این پیشرفت از طرف یه چیز پارادوکسیکاله، همین پارادوکسی هم که اینجا مطرح کردن همینه که از طرفی باعث این جریان میشه، منتها از طرف دیگه تقاضا رو بالا میبره و بالا رفتن تقاضا باعث میشه که به شکل انفجاری همه اون پیشرفت‌ها بی اهمیت جلوه داده بشه. و چیزی که مهمه این وسط تقاضا نسبت به مهمترین چیزی که داره خطرساز میشه، تقاضا و میل به های رزولوشن بالا هستش که داره خرابکاری میکنه و داره سنگین میکنه ماجرا.
Thank you. Okay, so there are solutions. There's a lot of things that should be done with government regulation and the idea that we should think of high-speed internet not as a necessity but as a luxury. There are things that audiences can do, such as watching in lower resolution, watching DVDs or files on USBs, watching TV, going to the movies, especially if you walk or take transit, keeping your phone for longer, given the large carbon footprint of phones. And what I'm going to talk about now, small file movies. So Samaya, you don't need to translate that. Okay, so small file images are images that can be transmitted online using very little bandwidth. And at the Small File Media Festival, we suggest that artists or makers try to make works that are 1 megabyte per minute, and that is really small. A high definition video is anywhere between 60 and 350 megabytes per minute. So we are asking for very small movies at the Small File Media Festival. This is the festival site that you can visit, and this is our slogan, 5 megabytes of fun. Though this year we've got a new one, which is 22 megabytes of trouble, because we've got the binge-worthy series, which can be up to 22 megabytes. Samaya?
Can you explain a bit more about 22 megabytes of trouble? I didn't get that one. 22 megabytes of trouble?
Yes.
What was the reason for that?
Because this year we've added a new category, which is the binge-worthy category. So it's for a series that can be as long as 22 minutes and as big as 22 megabytes.
Okay. میگن که یک بخش جدید اضافه کردن به جشنوارهشون. تا به حال شعار اصلی این بوده که 5 مگابایت حالا سرخوشی یا خب نمیدونم حالا فان هر چی ترجمه میخواید بکنید. امسال یک بخش جدید اضافه کردن به اسم 22 مگابایت دردسر که میشه توش کارای تا 22 مگابایت فکر کنم گفتن که حالا مشخص دقیقش رو فراموش کردم. میدونم که آره سریال های پشت هم دیدنی که هر کدوم 1 مگابایت بیشتر نباشه و 22 دقیقه باشه.
So yeah, I'm going to do these 2 more slides and then we'll watch the show. Okay, so some of the great things about small file movies, they are so small you can email them. Instead, most of us hate compression and what compression does, losing the quality of an image, but small file movies actually work with compression aesthetics. Small file movies draw you in, they pull you in the way that Marshall McLuhan described pull media, and the way I talk about haptic media, they involve the body of the viewer. But as you're going to see, there are some small file movies that are surprisingly high resolution because of techniques that I will talk about in a minute. These other things we'll talk about later, how they are intensive, they connect you to the cosmos, they invite you to imagine what you cannot see, and they are salubrious. They're healthy for both the you know what? There's somebody at my door. Hang on.
من یه کوچولو از فرصت استفاده میکنم توضیح میدم. این پول میدیا رو البته از خودشون باید دوباره بپرسم. من خودم دقیق متوجه نشده بودم، الان توضیح دادن بهتر متوجه شدم. فکر میکردم در مقابل پوش میدیا هستش، منتها دارن از خوبیای و جذابیت فایلای کم حجم میگن. اینکه قابل انتقال هستش با ایمیل، اینکه برخلاف اونچه که همیشه ما دلمون میخواد فایلامون با کیفیت باشه و از کامپرشن، البته ترجمه هم ترجمه دقیق نیست، از کامپرشن بدمون میاد، اینجا استقبال میکنیم برامون اون به لحاظ زیبایی شناختی هم حتی اون نتیجه کم کیفیت برای ما جذاب هستش. Okay, go on, Laura, please.
My neighbor needed to borrow a screwdriver.
Oh, cool.
And finally, small file movies are healthy. They're salubrious. Rather than being bad for the planet, they're not bad for the planet, and so we can feel healthy watching them. And also in this way, small file movies connect us to the cosmos in a good way, because we are aware of how the movies travel around the planet to reach us using very little of the planet's resources. So they connect us to the materiality of our planet. And I can explain the part about the cosmos later.
Beautiful. Do you want me to translate, or do you want me to be?
No, I'll just go on. So I'm sure all of you are interested in the artistic and technical means of making small file movies. I'm going to briefly mention these now, and then we can talk about them after you've seen the show. So one of the best ways to make a small file movie is just to use old equipment. For example, Gabriella De Seta's movie was made with an old Nokia camera that produces smaller files. Another great way to make a small file movie is not to use moving images, but instead to combine still images with a rich soundtrack. Some of you are animators, and you know that some kinds of animation can use very little file size. Animated GIFs are also a great way to make a small file movie, and they can go on forever. Almost all small file movies end up using compression algorithms, and each one of these is full of variables for different ways to compress the image, and they allow you to experiment with compression aesthetics. One thing I want to mention, because you're going to see it in the very last movie, yes, the very last movie, O'Hara Lane, is you can use camera work that will compensate for compression. Compression algorithms, they work hardest when there's a lot of movement in the image or when there are fast edits. So if you use camera work that is either still or slow, and if the movement in the frame is still or slow, that will put less demand on compression and allow you to retain good image quality. Another secret that you're going to see in the transcendent cat video, O'Hara Lane, is using a shallow focal plane so that only one plane of the image is in focus.
Great, that's really interesting. I have a question from you before explaining this. Oh, I forgot my question. Anyway, can I explain it to the I think this is very interesting. So دارن میگن که روش هایی که بشه به این فایل های کم حجم رسید رو دارن توضیح میدن. البته خیلی هاشو خودتون بلدین. مثلا استفاده از یکی از روش خیلی جالب استفاده از مدیوم های محجور هستش. مثلا همین دوستمون گابریل گفتش که از یک گوشی خیلی قدیمی استفاده کرده. اونا طبعا خب چیزشون از دوربین یک گوشی خیلی قدیمی استفاده کرده. طبعا خیلی حجم اصلا از همون ابتدا پایین میره. بعد استفاده از فریم های ثابت هست، بله مدیوم های از دور خارج هست، و بعد استفاده از فریم های ثابت که خیلی خیلی زیاد حجم رو کم میکنن. فرم های ثابت منظورم استیل هستش در واقع. و بعد توی تکنیک هایی که توی انیمیشن هستش برای این جریان و بعد استفاده از گیف رو که خودتون میدونین، اینها رو حالا گفتم خودشون. چیزی که بر من جالب بود استفاده از یعنی حین فیلم برداری توجه به این ماجرا و استفاده از حرکت خیلی کم یا بدون فرم های بدون حرکت هستش. So what you're saying is that if we have a slow camera movement, do we have a smaller file, or you mean the compression is going to be more successful in giving us a higher quality image? Is that
you have better image quality? Better image quality. And the reason is because compression algorithms deal with the difference between frames. So if there are fewer sudden differences between frames, the image can retain higher quality.
میگن که کامپرشن در واقع فشرده سازی موفق‌تر میشه اگر که شما حرکت دوربین کم داشته باشید یا اینکه حرکت اصلا نداشته باشید یا آهسته باشید، و دیگه هم اینکه فوکال پوینتتون چیزتون محدوده فوکوس همچین کم باشه و زیاد نباشه. این هم کمک کننده است برای اینجا. Okay.
I've just noticed that animation in Farsi is the same as animation in English. We don't have a word in Farsi.
Yeah, well, we have some words, but until now they haven't been working so well. So, yeah.
Okay, so it's time to watch the program. This program is going to be, I think it's about 18 minutes long. So you can either I put the link in the festival to Samaya put together a folder of all the movies, so you can just take them out and watch them, and then after that I ask you to destroy the files and not keep them, because the artist didn't give me permission to actually give their movies. So please go and watch the show, and then we'll all come back when you're done.
Laura, I think the files are not downloadable. They're just there to watch, but I'm not sure anyway.
They were actually Somaya. I mean, they're all the Dropbox. You can download them easily. Yes,
oh, okay.
There's just like 30 megabytes, and then
okay.
there are 2 links. Yes,
okay.
I just downloaded this.
All right. So, so what you asked about, Laura, about what did you ask about the films? Because you said the films belong to the artist. You said,
so I said please destroy them after watching them.
destroy them. Okay. So از شما میخوان که برید برنامه رو تماشا بکنید و این لیستی رو که تهیه کردن از و در واقع کیوریت کردن از فیلم ها، و میخوان که بعد از اینکه فیلم ها رو دانلود کردید، چون حجمشون خیلی پایین هستش، زیر 20 مگابایت هست، میگن که فیلم ها رو لطفاً دیلیت بکنید و چون که مال آرتیست هستش و ما پرمیشن از اونا نداریم، اجازه نداریم از اونا. مرسی.
Okay, so here's the suggested program order, and I'll see everybody back when you're done.
Okay. میگن که بریم تماشا کنیم برگردیم. حدودا من فکر کنم it's 20 how long is it going to take? 22 minutes? Sorry, we don't have your voice. You're muted.
1, 2, 5, 8, 13, 15, 18 minutes about. Okay?
Okay, let's get back in 25 minutes, yeah.
25? Okay.
I'm just considering the technical difficulties in my
All right.
welcome back, Laura.
Everybody done?
We just finished it. I mean, maybe 1 or 2 minutes, but it should be already 20 minutes past.
Mhm.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Samaya, I mentioned in the chat there are a couple of things that could use a quick translation. So the title of Sticky Note Studies.
You want that to be translated? Sticky note studies. I'm really. What do you suggest for that? What?
Well, we can say like we can say مطالعات چرک‌نویس یا یادداشت چسبان.
Sticky note هم چیزی. Yeah. Okay. So we are translating it right now. So sorry for that.
Yeah. And for moth,
for the cat fashion and the things like the cat fashion is like cat confession. Yeah, you said that. Yeah. Sorry.
So, and they need to know that the title is Cat Confessions, and the food spelled out. It wasn't me.
یعنی که خب کت و کانفشن که یعنی اعتراف، کت هم که یعنی کردی من میگن که این اولا که خب این بازیه که با تلفیق این نام ها کردم و بعدم که اونجا نوشته شده it wasn't me من yeah.
And for moth, Samaya, I put this right in the chat, so you can just read it from the chat.
Okay. Can I just go on with that? The thing that you're writing? Okay. برای ماس میگن که ماس مثلا شاپرک نمیدونم چی بگم بهش.
میشه حشره بید.
آفرین، مرسی ممنون. این به واسه یک دوربین مداربسته گرفته شده فیلم و طرف و فیلمساز از توی نیویورک داشته آپارتمانش رو در واقع داشته نظارت میکرده بهش و در طول دوران همین کرونا و داشته این تماشا میکرده این ویدیو و با خودش تصور میکرده که داره برنجشو با مونده تعمده غذاشو و یا داره کتشو این بیدی که این بید موزی داره میخوره و برای وارلین و هم این باونسره اون کسی که آیدی رو میگیره دم کلوب ها اون از کت آیدیش رو خواسته همون کارت شناساییش رو خواسته.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so now we can have free conversation.
اوکی میگن که حالا میتونیم فری کانورسیشن داشته باشیم، میتونیم Q&A مثلا شما سوالات اگر سوالی دارید بپرسید. پیش از اون من از لورا اجازه میخوام که یه چیز کوچولو بهتون بگم. Laura, can I just give a very brief, just 1 minute explanation that I owe? I think yeah. من فقط خواستم بگم که این توضیحی که ایشون در مورد پول میدیا گفتن به نظرم خیلی توضیح جذاب. من خودم این مقدار مشکل داشتم توی درک این و الان برام این مقدار جا افتاد. بیشتر این که من فکر کردم گفتم بهتون یه برداشت دیگه ای کردم که در واقع توی یه کانتکست دیگه معنا داشتش این پول میدیا، ولی اینکه این مدیوم کلیت حرف ایشون من برای کسایی که برای یه سری از دوستان دارم توضیح میدم که کلیت حرف ایشون که یه سری جای خالی هست، فضای خالی هست که شما باید پر بکنید در مدیوم های کم کیفیت که شما باید با خیال خودتون پر بکنید و تمام داده ها به شما تحمیل نمیشه، بلکه شمایید که باید مخاطبه که باید بره و کشف بکنه اینا. برای همین هم هستش که اینقدر و چون که کیفیت پایین هستش توجه بیشتر میشه، نزدیک میشه آدم به مدیوم. این به نظرم خیلی خیلی مفهوم جذابیه. حالا جدا از جریانات محیط زیستیش که که خیلی مهم هستش، ولی فکر میکنم این قضیه که مدیوم به ما تحمیل میکنه بیشتر استفاده کردن بدنمون و بیشتر استفاده حواسمون و تخیلمون، این خیلی جذاب هستش. فقط خواستم این توضیح بدم، احساس کردم که اینو خوب بیان نکردم. ضمن اینکه میخواستم بهتون توصیه بکنم که مثلا هپتیک ویژوالتیشون رو و مقالاتی که ایشون دارن رو میتونید مطالعه کنید، اگر که خیلی مفاهیم کلیدی جذابی رو به نظر من باز میکنه واسه آدم آشنایی با این ترمایی که ایشون معرفی کردن. I was just elaborating a bit. I think there was some points that I couldn't make clear, so I was just elaborating a bit so that it's more like there's more connection. Okay. Thank you. حالا اگر کسی سوال داره لطفاً مطرح کنید. ضمن فیلمسازا هم اینجا هستن. I think Gabriel was here. Is Azadeh here?
Yes. Azadeh, I don't think Azadeh is here.
Okay. اگه سوالی دارید از فیلمسازمون هم میتونید بپرسید از گریل.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yes, sure.
We can close we can close the share screen so we can see everybody pulling their hand off. Okay, all right. Please.
Hi, Laura. This is Fatima. I'm here in Tehran. Thanks very much for your presentation and for the really thought-provoking thing you're doing. For tonight, I'm going to ask a question regarding your this small size file thing, not about the haptic visuality or other kinds of interesting, really fantastic things you've been doing. But the thing is it's obviously, I don't know. I'm asking because I don't know how big or how pervasive is this movement, if you like. So I was considering it as like a symbolic gesture to raise awareness rather than a really a movement that really has real impact on the kind of thing, because as big companies and new technologies and new media are just madly going towards some other destination. And do you think this is going to be enough, or this is going to just raise awareness, or are there more phases coming that it may become more pervasive, more kind of, telling more people how we could do this, we could avoid, or we could just resist this kind of, intensely, madly moving towards that.
Thank you, Fatima.
Can we have the translation from Fatima herself?
Well, I guess everybody knows what I'm saying, but anyway, من داشتم سوال میکردم که بیشتر به نظر من میاد این small file movement، بیشتر small file image، بیشتر یه حرکت سمبولیک و یه در حقیقت اشاره‌ای هستش برای توجه دادن به این مسئله استریمینگ و نیو میدیایی که دارن این همه گاز گلخانه‌ای و این همه حال خطرات محیط زیستی ایجاد میکنن. و آیا میشه اینو به عنوان جنبشی در نظر گرفت که در آینده ممکنه مثلا بتونه جلوی این حرکت جنون‌آمیز رو به سمت مصرف بیشتر بگیره، یا یا فازهای دیگه هم از این توی نظر این دوستانی که پژوهش میکنن هست یا نه؟
Yes, thank you. It's the Small File Media Festival is a provocation. It really does two things. I am trying to start a worldwide small file movement, and the festival is in its second year, and I expect it's going to get bigger and bigger in a small way. But also, and obviously, these are movies that most people are not going to want to watch. So it's a way to say, look, if you don't enjoy small file movies, you really need to think about other ways to limit your carbon footprint, such as watching physical media or going to the movies or at least watching in lower resolution. And it also, because, the environmental movement is, it gives people, a heavy and dark feeling. To introduce this topic of the carbon footprint of streaming media in a funny and light way, I'm hoping will engage people who would resist it otherwise.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
And it does also have, as you said, it's an act of resistance. It raises the question, why do we need ever higher file sizes, and what is so great about immersive media?
Should I translate briefly?
Mhm.
یکی از دغدغه‌هایی که ایشون دارن در زمینه چیز هستش، اینکه مخاطب تربیت بشه یک جوره برای چیزی که یعنی آمادگی، چون یه سری مخاطب در واقع پذیرش نداره در برابر بعضی از فایل‌ها، در برابر بعضی از آثار و مقاومت میکنه. یکیش همین جریان اسمال فایل هستش و فایل‌های با رزولوشن پایین هستش. ایشون درباره این صحبت کردن که مثلا روش‌هایی رو پیدا کردن برای اینکه این جریان حالا محیط زیستی، دغدغه‌های محیط زیستی، دغدغه‌های خیلی سنگین و سختی هستش، روبروشن کسی حوصله‌شون نداره، سعی می‌کنن که خیلی با یه سری چیزای جذاب بکنن جشن رو، حالا جالبش بکنن، جذاب بکنن. اگه چیزی من از قلم انداختم لطفاً امیرعلی یا خانم شکیب لطف کنن.
Thank you. Now, I saw there's a question from our host, and there's also a question from Niaz.
I can translate Niaz's question. I think she put it first. So she says, Laura, what is the connection between the small file movement and the movement of labs and collectives with using analog? Is there a connection between the small file media and the going back to analog movement?
Yeah, that's a beautiful question, Niaz. There is a close connection because the small file movement, it's about digital media. Some of the movies do originate in analog media, but it's about finding a kinship between movements that are resisting the call of high definition digital media, and also sharing an interest in artisanal media and working with older technologies, which may even include, learning how to repair older technologies. There's also an interesting connection with analog video, which I won't go into.
خب گفتن که در واقع یک ارتباطات، یه توازی بین این دوتا میبینن، ولی خب یک قسمتی از چیزم هست که ممکنه راجع به در واقع خود کار آنالوگ که الان ترجیح میدن واردش نشن، ولی خب این بیشتر اسمال فایل میدیا در واقع سر و کارش با نیو میدیاست و تکنولوژی های در واقع ویدیوهای دیجیتال، ولی اون سمت گمان میکنم که خب از یک جریان دیگه در واقع نشأت میگیره و اینکه بدونیم چجوری میتونیم تعمیر بکنیم، چجوری میتونیم برگردیم و دستگاه‌های قدیمی‌تر رو که از دور خارج شدن زنده نگه داریم، آرشیوها رو به هم.
I see that Azadeh is here. So two of our filmmakers are here now, Gabrielle and Azadeh. Hi, Azadeh.
Hi, Azadeh. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. Hi, thank you. Good to see you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I
a bit late. I just came out of a meeting.
No, we're so happy that you could make it. Yeah.
So you could come even earlier.
آزاده امادی فیلمساز خیلی من خیلی کار انتنگل او بتون چی اون رو ترجمه میکنی؟
واو. یه جورایی میشه گفتش دنیای به هم پیچیده.
آها من خیلی واقعا
شاید بهتر باشه تا به هم پیچیده. دنیای در هم.
خیلی خوب. و همینطور ایشون با لارمارکس خیلی همکاری دیگه هم دارن، همین سابستانشال موشن ریسرچ نتورک هم که صحبت شد، این هم با آزاده جان هستن، با هم دیگه در واقع این رو اداره میکنن. اوکی. Any more questions? Farid, I think, has a question.
Yeah, Farid has a question and I have a question, but Farid, if you want, I can translate for you. I mean, I will go next after you.
ممنونم و سلام میکنم به همه. امیر، در واقع ویدیو آنالوگ تا جایی که من میدونم این خیلی در واقع آسیب زننده تر به محیط زیست، در واقع این مراحل چاپ و ظهور و آرشیو کردن اینها و نگهداریش خیلی انرژی بیشتری میبره تا ویدیو دیجیتال.
Is it a question? سواله یا چیز؟
آره سواله این که چطوری فایل تبدیلش
asking about the analog mediums. I mean, are there more of a risk to the environment rather than digital medias? I mean, can we compare them because of all the chemicals and the material they're used, and then also the money that we have to spend recovering them, the apparatus and the devices that are outdated in a way.
Well, yes, it's a different kind of risk, and people are aware of the the toxicity involved in analog film, and also the huge production costs, well, of any film production. But what people are not aware of is that streaming a film, whatever it originated on, analog or digital, that streaming a film has huge impact on the environment because it requires so much electricity that produces greenhouse gas emissions. So it's not really about analog versus video. It's about being mindful not only of the environmental impact of production, but also of transmission.
خب میگن که در واقع خب خیلی دو جور مختلف این نگرانی ها و شاید بگیم که با هم در تقابل با هم نیستن. آنالوگ ممکنه در واقع خب یک در واقع مواد شیمیایی یا سمی بودنش مطرح باشه یا در واقع انباشتش و نگهداریش، ولی توی دیجیتال یک بخش پنهانی هست که همون مصرف برق و دو تا مسئله است. یه مسئله اینه که ما اکثرا راجع به تولید کارا و بودجه تولید یه اثر فکر خواهیم کرد، ولی اون در واقع اثر کربنی که توی محیط زیست میذاره، پخش آثار از طریق استریمینگ، خوبه که بهش توجه بکنیم و اونم معمولاً از چشم پنهانه و جلوی چشم نیست که دیده بشه.
I'd also like to add for makers, of course, most makers want to make beautiful work in high resolution that will be gorgeous to look at. And I'm saying, do that work and show it live. You show it in a theater or an installation. And you can make a small file version for streaming online.
یه مسئله دیگه هم که مهمه اینه که اگه میخواید از کیفیت بالا استفاده بکنید تو کارتون، بکنید این کارو توی سینما نشونش بدین که تعداد زیادتری میتونن اونو ببینن، یا توی اینستالیشنتون، یه جایی که در واقع یه دریافت فیزیکی مورد نظره، ولی وقتی میخواین اونو آنلاین نمایش بدین حتما کوچیکش بکنین و یه ورژن سبکتری که اون رد پای کربنی خودتون رو کاهش بده.
در واقع میگن 2 تا ورژن داشته باشین، یه دونه ورژن که خوش کیفیت، یه دونه ورژن کم کیفیت.
I want, if there is if it's my turn, I can ask mine. Laura, how does this also has to do with the democratization of access, Smile File? Because also it might be interesting things to consider, because I mean the technological advancement are not reaching everywhere in the world the same pace, the same as electricity and devices that they can play this. And then at the same time, I can recall past experience of, I remember that the files that would fit in a diskette, like a floppy disk, and then I could remember like, I don't know, MD disk and CD, writable CDs, and so on. So I mean, we already had always a problem with the capacity, where to store them. So now we have a big archive of files on a DVD. But at the same time, in the other way around, if there is access in a way that like a capitalist system is going to have access to everywhere, it will reduce the access to many people who don't afford it. So for example, all this bootleg, I mean, pirated material will not be tolerated, which we grow up with all the films that we would see with the low-res, sometimes shot from in a cinema and by secretly. So I wanted to put this downloading versus shipping, because before everything has to be physical, but also the upside of small files could be in the democratization of access in some ways. And the same goes with the open source softwares that sometimes allow more people to have access to codes and technologies somehow.
Oh, I think I've lost the connection.
No, just I wanted to see if it's, because I mean, now we are, for example, in Iran, we have sanctions, and then we have also internet limitations. So small files actually helping us to see more, because all these video streaming softwares, if they're not localized, they're blocked. And you need to use VPN, and VPN has also a lot of carbon footprints. We pay more money to the ISPs, and we spend more electricity, and we get slower connection in order to get access. So smaller files somehow could help us and many others. I mean, here we don't have so being connected to the world trade, treaties and so it's not helping as much as like this ethic of sticking to the small media.
Yeah, those are such important points, and I completely agree with you. Samaya, do you want to translate, or do you think
I can translate, but I mean, if you, I was waiting for you. If you're like,
I'm happy. Yeah, I'll answer, and when you translate my answer, you can also translate your question. Yeah, these are such important points, and I think the question is appropriate technology. So technology that is, appropriate to a local economy, and also appropriate to the environment. So the kind of high resolution streaming media that's popular in countries with very robust infrastructure, like the United States, Canada, Korea, some parts of Europe, that is actually inappropriate technology. It's unsustainable. It's bad for the planet, and it gives people unrealistic expectations of what technology should give us. It's a fantasy and a fairy tale that unfortunately telecoms and media platforms are media companies are trying to make people believe that this is your right. So that is wrong. So I actually think of countries with less strong infrastructure, and also countries that rely on piracy to get their media. I think of those as appropriate technology, because these are technologies that are not to completely lump them together, but a lower bandwidth uses less electricity and is less destructive. Pirated media tend to be smaller file media, so they're more environmentally friendly in that way. Yeah, actually, that's my answer. Your question is perfect. I agree with all your points.
من سوال کردم که خب این پروسه جریان فایل کوتاه چه ربطی به دموکراتیک کردن دسترس داره، با توجه به اینکه تکنولوژی ضریب نفوذش تو همه جای دنیا یکسان نیست و خب طبیعتا ما هممون به یاد میاریم که رسانه هایی که به ما رسیدن معمولا کیفیتشون از اون اصلی ها پایین تر بوده، یا کپی شده بودن یا کوچیک شده بودن، آپلود شده بودن، آورده بودنشتون توی در واقع فرمت های یک جوری میشه گفت قاچاق تصویری توش صورت گرفته و این به یک کشورهایی که جزو جریان تجارت جهانی هم نبودن یه دسترسی رو پیشنهاد میده. و لارا جواب داد که بله ما توی در واقع آمریکای شمالی و یه جاهایی از اروپا و
I also want to add that
yes, go ahead. I can just finish this sentence so I don't forget it and then I will translate it. این تو این کشورها یه انتظاری به وجود اومده که این وفور تکنولوژی حق همه است و این هم در واقع یه جوری شرکت‌های بزرگ اینو ایجاد کردن که همه باید اینو داشته باشن، در حالی که گاهی وقت تکنولوژی‌های پایین‌تر و قدیمی‌تر و سرعت‌ها و حجم‌های پایین‌تر کمتر برای محیط زیست ضرر داره. Sorry, Laura, please go ahead.
No, thank you. I also wanted to add that people who can't afford the newest cameras or newest phones that have insane high resolution that make really big files, they're also working with appropriate technology. Like the beautiful abstraction that Gabriella made with the old Nokia phone. So I'm also saying that appropriate technology tends to be technology that lasts a long time, and people who have less money or people in less infrastructured parts of the world, they know that, and they hang on to their phones. They repair old cameras, and in that way they're if not by choice, they're also not buying into the capitalist logic of obsolescence.
I translate here shortly. یه مسئله دیگه هم هست که کسایی که خب دسترسی کمتری به تکنولوژی دارن سعی میکنن از وسایلشون بهتر محافظت بکنن، وسایل رو تعمیر بکنن و با وسایلی کار بکنن که عمر بیشتری داره. مثلا ویدیوی گابریلا رو مثال زدن که با یه موبایل نوکیا درست شده و یه استتیک ابستری خیلی جالبی رو با خودش داره که ممکنه توی در واقع دوربینای های تک امروزی دیگه پیداش نکنی، یا باید به سختی از فیلتر استفاده بکنی، از چیزای اینجوری که بتونید به اون برسیم و این کمک میکنه. یعنی استفاده از تکنولوژی مناسب برای تولید اثر میتونه یه یه آگاهی داشته باشه که در واقع کمک بکنه به اون مسئله معضلات محیط زیستی این قضیه. Yes.
So now I'd like to share my screen one last time to invite people to submit your films to the Small File Media Festival. Deadline June 4th. I would really, really love to see some of your movies. And I've also put in the chat the address for the festival, and there you can find a lot of information about technical solutions and aesthetic solutions for making small file movies. And you can also look at last year's festival, though Samaya told me that there is a problem accessing Vimeo in Iran. And I also put my website so you can find out more about me and you can get in touch if you want. And I put the website of our streaming media carbon footprint research group.
Where's your website? The link to your website?
It's the middle one.
Oh, okay. This one didn't get there like a link, but yeah, that's the address is there.
Yeah.
دعوت کردن از همه دیگه که شرکت بکنیم توی جشن. Okay, I have a question from our filmmakers. Can I ask, or is there anyone who wants to ask?
There is one in the chat from Niaz again, but we can go to that, and also we can you can go ahead with your question. I mute myself if you need me, because
I thought I already answered Niaz's question.
There's a follow-up question actually. She's saying that you briefly mentioned analog video and you said that you don't want to get into the details, but please do explain. We're eager to hear.
Okay, but I thought, okay, yes. So analog video is considered to be the deadest of dead technologies, you know, and in a lot of ways with good reason, because it's almost impossible to edit. But analog video has, you know, a unique aesthetics that can't be replicated with digital video. And you can shoot an analog video and transfer to digital to edit. So you know, here in Vancouver at we've got a media arts center that's got an enormous archive of old video technologies, and I'm hoping to work with them and with a student to start reviving some of those technologies and you know, cameras and other equipment, and using them to make small file movies.
But isn't analog video in itself, like as Farid said, doesn't it make any concerns about, like, again the same thing about environmental issues because of the, you know,
well, I mean, you know, everything has some kind of environmental footprint, but you know, analog video, it uses magnetic tape. You know, I'm thinking of it as from our point of view, it's a modest technology. I see that Hamid Reza has a question.
Hamid Reza? Did you see him raising his hand?
He put it in the chat.
Oh, okay. I have a question. Okay, good.
Is it my turn to ask my question?
Yes, yes, we're calling you.
Sorry if it's a bit noisy here because I'm at work. Thank you, Laura, for the beautiful presentation. I'm so glad to see your beautiful face with that smile. At first glance to me, your presentation is bringing up more awareness about being mindful about the environment. But from a second angle, how about raising questions regarding the definition of professionalism and sublimity, especially material-wise, and technology, which directed my thought towards the evaluation system or characteristics of a professional outcome.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I'll answer, and then the translation can pick up both question and answer. Yes,
I'll ask Amir Ali to translate this because I would prefer not to speak Farsi in my work, at my work. Thank you, Amir Ali.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's this this ideology that to be professional is also to be using the most up-to-date technologies and working in high resolution. I think a great number of artists and a lot of people who are not artists, recognize this ideology as out of date, but still, for most people, if we use older technologies, or if we choose to not work in high resolution, we need to just give a little explanation. I think, for example, it could be quite professional to say, I'm using a lower resolution out of concern for the streaming media's carbon footprint. So I don't think it's an insurmountable problem, this association of high resolution with professionalism.
Thank you so much.
قرار شد من سوال ترجمه کنم. امیر جان پاسخ رو پرسیدن که تا اونجایی که من شدم پرسیدن که دغدغه حرفه‌ای ماجرا چی میشه. حالا درسته که ما دغدغه محیط زیستی و این حرفا هستش، منتها دغدغه حرفه‌ای و اینکه ما می‌خوایم کارمون پروفشنال باشه و تقاضایی که از ما هست برای اینکه کارمون توی یک شکل حرفه‌ای ارائه بشه، اون رو به چه کرد و اون رو به نظرتون چجوری میشه باش برخورد کرد؟
و خب لارا میگه که الزاماً تضادی نمیبینه بین در واقع حرفه‌ای بودن و با ورژن‌های مختلف فایل کار کردن. همیشه میشه با در واقع فایل‌های بزرگتر و کیفیت‌های بهتر کار کرد برای مقاصدی که شرحش رفت و میشه ورژن‌های در واقع سعی بکنیم کاهش بدیم اون رد پا رو با در واقع استفاده حداقلی از حجم برای در واقع پخش در لحظه، پخش آنی، و اینو در تضاد با همدیگه نمیدونن که لازم نیست که حتما در واقع اینو با فایل آماتوری یا تصاویر بی کیفیت رو با هم پیوند بزنیم. خب تو خودت سوال داشتی سمیه؟
الان سوال دارم از فیلم سازا و میخوام ازشون سوال بکنم که آیا این فیلم ها رو شما به نیت جشنواره ساختید و آیا از این مدیوم استفاده کرد؟ یعنی میخوام بدونم که این تحمیل شده براشون یا اینکه این انتخابی بوده و انتخاب زیبایی شناختیشون بوده در واقع. So I want to ask our filmmakers, dear filmmakers, if this was your like deliberate decision, your aesthetic, creative decision to make your films into this medium, to make small file films, or was it just you made these films before and then you just compressed it for the festival? I mean, I want to know if you were interested in the aesthetic quality of the images, or was it just, yeah, please.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, should I answer first? I don't know. I'll just go first. Yeah, for me it was I've always been interested in this, and I think I shot those clips in 2010 maybe, so many years ago, and that time I had this very old Nokia phone, and nobody was using it to take video, but it could take video. So I was very interested in these very small grain videos that it can take. And so I took a lot of videos and then I just forgot about them. that were in my hard drive in a folder. And this was a great occasion to go back and put together something with them. So I did not have to compress them because they're already very small. They're actually a format that is not even used anymore. It was kind of hard to piece it together while maintaining that kind of compression.
خب گابریلا میگه که نه اینا در واقع خب دغدغه خودم هم بود، بخاطر اینکه اینا رو سال 2010 روی موبایلم فیلم گرفته بودم. یه موبایلی بود که حتی خیلی کسی نمیدونست فیلمم میگیره یا نه، ولی میگرفت و من اینا رو یه جای رو هارد دیسکم داشتم و احتیاجی به کمپرس کردن و اینها هم نبود، به خاطر اینکه وقتی که اصلا فرمتش هم یه فرمتی بود که کم کم داشت فراموش میشه و خودشون خیلی فایلای کوچیکی بودن و باید منم یه تمهیداتی رو فکر میکردم که چجوری بتونم اینا رو به هم متصلشون بکنم. بنابراین پس کمپرسشنی نبوده، ولی جالب بود برام وقتی اینا رو پیدا کردم و نگاهشون کردم که دغدغه‌م این بود که بتونم کیفیت اوریجینال کلیپ‌ها رو حفظ بکنم توی این در واقع تدوینی که میکنم. Thank you. Azadeh, do you want to respond?
Yeah. Shall I first answer in English and then translate it and answer in Farsi as well?
As you wish. If you want, I can translate for you. But I mean, if you prefer not, we would.
Okay.
We will have a small rest and enjoy it.
I was thinking maybe to give you a break, but more than happy if you want to answer, translate it. Well, I also personally enjoy the low resolution aesthetic, and I have been trying to work with a different type of aesthetic and particularly low resolution. But with this particular work, it was interesting because, yes, the images or the clips themselves were low resolution, but the final video turned out to be actually quite of a big size because of the sound and the work that I did with the sound. So I had to compress it and make it lower resolution, but not necessarily because of the visual, but because of the sound. And I think that's another aspect we maybe can think about, that it's not just about images, but also the sound we work with as well.
Excuse me, so it's not like you have two different versions of this file. One is a lower, it is the original file. It is the original.
I actually do have a high resolution file as well. No, I do. Yeah, so there are actually two versions. One, the one that you see is a low resolution.
And can I ask which one you prefer?
It's a difficult question to answer because I think I like both of them. As Laura said, I think that each can be used for different purpose. Definitely, I mean, when I personally think about aesthetic, I also think about viewers' experience and what they gain from that experience. I think when it comes to low resolution, we perceive differently, we see the image and experience the image differently. And the other resolution is also, it engages you in a different way. Mm-hmm. So I think it's kind of, for me, it's important to think in both ways and say, well, okay, it's not about what is better than, which one is better than the other. It's about, well, okay, what am I trying to achieve? And as Laura said, obviously, if it's going online, then why not use the low resolution? But when I'm sending it to film festival, I'll use the higher resolution. Yeah, because definitely it will look much better in a large screen.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you translate it now?
Yes. Sorry, forgot about that. Reminds me if I forget some of the things I said to my. خب از اول من یکی از علاقه هام در زمان ساختن تصویر اتفاقا همون لو رزولوشن یا حجم کوچک فایل ها هستش و بوده همیشه. برای این فیلم مخصوصا اتفاقی که افتاد، اتفاقا کلیپ هایی که من فیلم هایی که من گرفتم رزولوشنشون بالا نبود، اما اتفاقی که افتاد وقتی صدا رو اضافه کردم و اون تدوین صدا رو انجام دادم، خود فایل تبدیل شد به یک فایل بزرگ و پرحجم در نتیجه نه به خاطر تصویر بلکه به خاطر صدا من مجبور شدم که کامپرس بکنم و حجم فایلم رو کوچیک بکنم تا بتونم برای فستیوال بفرستم. سمیه جان سوال کردن که خب کدوم یکی از اینها رو شما ترجیح میدی؟ آیا ترجیح میدی که اون استدی اون تصویر و زیبایی لو رزولوشن رو ترجیح میدی یا های رزولوشن رو؟ و در جواب من گفتم که بستگی به شرایط و موقعیت داره، هر کدوم در موقعیت مختلف خوب هستن و همینطور بستگی به این داره که بیننده من کی هست و من چه هدفی دارم از ارائه این تصویر و چه میخواهم که این بیننده تجربه بکنه از دیدن این ویدیو یا فیلم. و اینکه یک استتیک لو رزولوشن یک دید و تجربه متفاوتی به بیننده من میده تا یک چیزی که های رزولوشن هست. اگر بخوام برای آنلاین استفاده بکنم ترجیحاً لو رزولوشن، ولی وقتی میان این رو دارم میفرستم برای فیلم فستیوال من میام فایل بزرگ رو برای اینکه به خاطر کوالیتی و کیفیت و همه اینها فایل بزرگ رو میام به نمایش میگذارم. فکر کنم همین بودش. درسته؟ کاور کردم همه چی رو؟
عالی مرسی.
خداحافظ.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, please.
Thank you for the talk and beautiful presentations. I really appreciate it. And thanks for the two artists that shared with us their work. So I have a question regarding the festival itself. I mean, it's kind of piggybacking off of what Fatima at the beginning said about, so I see two sort of motivations for this festival. One is the aesthetic one, right? That is built upon your haptic visuality theory. So inherent artistic value in lower quality images, and when you give some space to audience for interpretations and filling in the gap of subsequent frames and whatnot. And then the other is the practical aspect of it, the environmental concerns. And so essentially you're pursuing both, but they seem to be moving in two different directions, right? Because the haptic is built upon this participation of the audience, which makes it difficult to connect with the work of art, whereas the majority of the environmental concerns has to do with this, the culture industry and how easy it is to consume the work of art. So essentially, the harder you make it for the audience to enjoy it, the less they're going to attract it, and then the less effective this movie is going to have on the environmental front. Am I right in assuming that or not?
That's a really good question, Ali. Thank you. No, in fact, the idea, well, first, not all small file movies are haptic. A lot of them, like O'Hara Lane with the cat, they're beautiful, clean images that you can watch like any movie. But second, the idea of haptic visuality is that it's a different kind of enjoyment. It's the enjoyment of leaning into the movie and using your imagination and your physical empathy to enjoy it. So with the festival, I'm hoping that we're going to show there are many ways to enjoy movies, even though they're not big files. And there's a huge variety of work in the festival. It's not all haptic. Some of it you can actually see pretty well.
So can I ask one follow-up question on that? Right. Is that so if, say a year from now, 10 years from now, some magic algorithm becomes available that satisfies these criteria that you have 1 megabyte per minute, then it essentially takes away from the practical aspect. I mean, of course, you can always do more, and then you can more make the criteria more strict, but then it would put more emphasis, I think, on the haptic aspect of things, the aesthetic version. So imagine yourself in that situation. You want to how would you change the festival in that sense, where where you're not so concerned with the image, the volume of the image itself, but more interested in the aesthetic values of the festival.
Oh, that's such a wonderful fantasy scenario. Well, then, I mean, actually, in this year's festival, we're focusing more on narrative cinema because we really want to show that small file movies can be, engaging in terms of their content. So, for example, we've got the binge-worthy series category. So I think it would, if we didn't have to worry about the file size, then there could be, there would be a huge proliferation of aesthetic practices. And, just as, as film improved, as analog video improved, as digital video improved, all of these media leave behind their early incarnations, and for most people that's fine. Most people don't like the artifacts, the fact that you're always reminded of the medium you're looking at. But some people do like the qualities of the medium that they're looking at. And similarly, streaming video has its own aesthetics, which is compression aesthetics. So if we got to the point where all movies were magically small, we would no longer need compression. And most people would not miss that at all, but there will always be a few people who will work with the materiality of the image and its aesthetic qualities in some way. Yeah, thank you for that fantasy scenario.
Thank you.
So, I just summarize it because it was a bit longer. Ali, do you want to say your question? But
yes.
I mean, I can do it, but I mean, I think you can do it best.
No, sure. Yeah, I'll summarize. Translate my own question. من فقط اولش پرسیدم که فستیوالی که شما برگزار کردید 2 تا رویکرد یا 2 تا دلیل پشتش به نظر من میرسه که داره. یکی اون تئوری چه چیزی ترجمه کرده بودید؟ دیدمان لمسی، چیزی بود. همون هپتیک ویژوال بود که در واقع یک کیفیت هنری و یک ارزش هنری هست توی این مدیوم های کم کیفیت که به بیننده اجازه میده که خودش وارد بشه و تخیل خودش رو درگیر کنه و در واقع بیاد نزدیکتر به اسکرین بشه و به لحاظ بدنی و لمسی وارد اون مدیوم بشه. و یکی دیگه هم دغدغه‌های زیست محیطی بود و به نظرم رسید که این دوتا یه جورایی در تضاد با هم بعضی موقع ممکنه رفتار کنن، چون که مهمترین اثر زیست محیطی که داره از سمت این چیز مس مدیا یا مس کانسامشنشه که یعنی میشه حالا مصرف در حجم بالا توسط عامه مردم و دلیل این مس کانسامشن یعنی چیزی که باعث میشه که آدم‌ها را بیشتر مصرف کنن، اینی که راحته، یک پدیده راحتیه که واسه بیننده هیچ بار انرژی رو نمیذاره، لم میده روی مبل و ازش لذت میبره. و اگه ما سختش کنیم با کم کردن کیفیت و ازش بخوایم که خودش رو بیشتر درگیر بکنه، احتمالاً میزان مصرفش هم میاد پایین و این یه خورده در تضاد با اون چیزیه که در واقع اثرگذاریش رو به اون حدی که ما میخوایم نمیذاره. حالا سوال من اولش این بودش که درسته آیا این تضاد وجود داره؟ حالا میخوای امیرعلی یا من دومیش هم بگم؟ و دومیش هم گفتم که اگر که ما دیگه دغدغه زیست محیطی نداشتیم، یعنی الگوریتم هایی بود که برای ما به صورت اتوماتیک کیفیت رو بسیار می آورد پایین و اون دغدغه میرفت کنار، فستیوال شما که این دفعه باید دیگه بار بیشتر رو بذاری ارزش های هنری چطوری تغییر میکرد یا تغییری میکرد یا نه؟
آره، لارام جواب داد که خب این یه سناریوی خیلی فانتزی جالبیه که اگه به حقیقت بپیونده، یعنی یه زمانی اگر ما این دغدغه محیط زیستیمون برداشته باشه، بتونیم کیفیت و حجم پایین رو با هم داشته باشیم، خیلی در واقع شاخه‌های مختلفی از زیبایی شناسی رسانه‌ای رو میتونیم تجربه بکنیم که یکی از اونها میتونه در واقع این باشه که مثلا خب حتی خود همین استریمینگ هم اگر در واقع ما سر و کار داشته باشیم با یه تعداد زیادی از فایل‌های کوچیک بدون نگرانی، میتونیم در واقع به استتیک اون هم بپردازیم که اون هم برای خودش یه کمپرشنی داره، یک در واقع سازوکاری داره و ممکنه کسایی بتونن اون تو هم چیزی پیدا بکنن و بله ممکنه ما اگر یه همچین چیزی به واقعیت بپیونده یه همچین زمانی پیش بیاد یه تأثیری خواهد داشت توی در واقع بازیافت زیبایی شناختی رسانه‌های مختلف، چه فرمتایی هستن، فرای این که چه در واقع ساید افکت محیط زیستی داره. We have maybe room for one or two questions. I mean, our Zoom is unlimited, but we have to be ethical with it, no? We don't need to make it long after listening to you.
I have time for one more question.
Mariam, do you want to unmute yourself? You have a question? I see you.
Are you with me?
Yeah.
Okay, actually, I don't have any question, but I just want to say that watching this was a very different question in essence, since you can play it without any hesitation and without any maybe imposed suspension or anticipation, I would say. Once you click, it's there, and it's really a new yeah, for me it was not actually like a GIF, because you still play and you can pause, you can just go in something that you have no control on it, like GIF. But yeah, that was maybe just here, but as Emily said, but I don't know, it was really a thing, the whole perception.
Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed the new experience.
Okay, great. Maybe we have to go now, huh?
We don't have to, but I mean, we will save the planet if we do. No, generally, I want also from this side, we wanted to thank all of you, the artist and Laura, who were kind enough to join us this morning. You have a big time difference, and we really appreciate fitting this into your schedule and sharing this all with us, and hope this will continue.
Hamid Reza really wants to ask another question.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Ariel.
Hamid Reza, sorry, I didn't see that.
No worries. I was just thinking about asking a following question regarding the last questions that I had after Azade's comment about festivals, like submitting works. So it reminded me something about the institutional issues, as your festival is sort of like is managed something like by an institution because it's a festival. When I brought up that question about the new definitions of professionalism and new evaluation system, my point was about these institutional issues. How we can challenge this, or how they challenge us. Because giving credit to such works is, if there is no like venue for like showing these works. So we are still dealing with these institutional issues, like this festival, the other festival, they are demanding some qualities, and they're giving us new definitions of sublimity and professionalism regarding the characteristics of like the quality of work, the material. That's why I brought up that question.
Well, I mean, the solution that Azadeh mentioned of, or that Azadeh and I were both talking about, of versioning, doing different versions of your work for different venues, That's fine, and it's a good solution, and it can allow your small file work to be a calling card for your large file work. But I think we can also, I really think that we can dignify the small file. There's a great deal of creativity that happens because of this extreme constraint of being no more than 5 megabytes. And once this genre is better recognized, I think the artistry will be more apparent. And speaking of recognizing it as a genre, the video distributor Vivo, that's based in Vancouver, is going to start acquiring movies from the Small File Media Festival, and that's going to recognize it as either as a genre or a recognized artistic practice. And I feel confident that small files are going to become the new kind of hot and fashionable and sexy way to practice, and that working in high resolution is will start to look old-fashioned and unhip. That's my hope.
Yeah, nice answer. Thank you.
Very shortly I translate for the closure. Okay, so Hamid Reza asked about Hamid Reza پرسید راجع به I was translating English to English for a second, sorry. Now
it implies that I couldn't ask my question very clearly when you tried to translate English to English. I'm really thank you for doing that.
It was like just my mind was not converted into the other channel. حمیدرضا پرسید که نقش مؤسسه ها و جشنواره ها چی میشه تو این در واقع که بیش از پیش فایل‌های با مشخصات خاصی میخوان با کیفیت‌های خاصی. منم تو پرانتز اضافه کنم خب یه بیزنس، یه صنعت هم پشت سرش هست که اینو میخواد. و خب لارا هم پاسخ داد که در واقع سوال حمیدرضا روی این بود که نقش در واقع حرفه‌گری که تجویز میشه یا تحمیل میشه از طرف مؤسسات و در واقع نهادها و فستیوالات چی. و لارا جواب داد که خب این قضیه که آزاده جان هم اشاره کردن که ورژن مختلف داشته باشیم کار خوبیه، ولی شاید هم بتونه در واقع با اضافه تر شدن فستیوال‌های از این دست این جا بیفته که در واقع هم استتیکش هم در واقع اخلاقش که با خودش داره جا بیفته و بتونه در واقع یه جایی برای خودش باز بکنه. مثالی که زدن این یکی از شرکت‌هایی که بیسش توی در واقع ونکووره که برای اجاره کردن فایل‌های کوچیک قرارن از کارهایی که تو فستیوال هست اقدام بکنن و در واقع یه طوری اتفاق بیفته که فایل‌های بزرگ یه جوری در واقع دموده بشه و از مد افتاده و بتونیم به سمت یک در واقع تولید اخلاقی تری و محیط زیستی تری پیش بریم شاید بعد از این جریان و بقیه هم دنبال این جریان ژانر جدیدی که به حرکت جدیدی که راه افتاده رو بگیم. Thank you.
خوب ترجمه کردی امیرعلی، دمت گرم. مرسی. مرسی.
My pleasure. Yes. Yes. There are two thank yous in the chat. We thank you too also, all of you. And your last words, I mean, Somaya, Laura, and Azadeh, Gabriela, I mean, so happy to and honored to have you here tonight.
It's been truly a delight. I'm so grateful to Samaya for inviting me, and grateful to you, Amir Ali, for hosting the event, and very nice to be with everybody. I have one last request is that before you share the Zoom recording, you could download that file and compress it to a small file, and you'll save a little more carbon. So thank you so much. It's been just a delight.
All pleasure. Consider it done. Yeah, we will.
Thank you, Laura.
We have to do it all because of the internet connection anyway. So that helps us. Yes.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you all, and it was lovely. Yes, thank you so much for your nice questions. Amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hope to meet you again.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye, Laura.